Welcome to CIA Declassified. We have explored the destructive power of drugs, light, and sound. Today we investigate the ultimate form of psychological warfare, conditioning the mind to self-destruct using the most mundane, everyday environmental signals. This is Project Behavioral Bomb, and this is the story of MK Ultra Subproject 106. Initiated in the early 1960s, this program sought to induce acute, uncontrollable psychological collapse through simple common stressors. The premise was that if fear could be perfectly linked to an innocuous trigger, an asset could be neutralized or eliminated with zero physical evidence. Subproject 106 wasn't magic. It was a ruthless science. It relied heavily on the work of Ivan Pavlov, who demonstrated that a neutral stimulus could be linked to an involuntary response. You would remember him if you think about operant conditioning. He's very famous for training the dog with the bell. The CIA took the simple model and inverted it. Instead of teaching a dog to salivate at a bell, they aimed to teach a human to suffer a psychotic break at the sight of a specific color. The internal psychological brief, CIA MKUL 106 Brief 02, acknowledged this foundation. This is a document quote. Pavlovian models prove the brain's mechanical plasticity. Our objective is to exploit the human brain's capacity for conditional reflex in the service of terminal security. End quote. The project's innovation was the intensity of the unconditioned stimulus, the chaos shock, designed to bypass cognitive defense mechanisms and force the connection instantly rather than over time. The program employed a brutal three-phrase conditioning loop designed to maximize stress plasticity in the subject's mind. The tactical manual, CIA MKUL 106 Man 01, outlines the cycle. 1. Sensory isolation. This is phase 1. Prolonged periods in a soundproof, light-proof chamber. 2. Chaos shock. This is phase 2. Immediate, overwhelming exposure to unpredicted, painful stimuli. And then 3. The behavioral cue. Phase 3. Introduction of the simple environmental trigger during the state of peak trauma. This cycle eroded the subject's psychological baseline, making them an empty slate ready for the implantation of the bomb's trigger. To ensure the conditioning was permanent, the researchers needed to push the subjects past their breaking point. The cycle used in Subject 106 was specifically designed to attack the brainstem and the autonomic nervous system. Autonomic, nervous system, which controls involuntary bodily functions like heart rate and breathing. Underload trauma, isolation. During isolation, the subjects experienced severe hypoarousal. Without external stimulation, the brain began to hallucinate, a desperate attempt to create its own input. The delirium softened the mind for the next stage. Overload trauma, chaos shock. The chaos shock immediately induced hyperarousal, rapid heart rate, uncontrollable shaking, and panic. The cycle eroded the brain's ability to maintain equilibrium, effectively hijacking the sympathetic nervous system's flight or fight response. The conditioning cue was always introduced during the transition from overload back into state of temporary forced calm, ensuring the cue was the last memory imprinted alongside the fear and physical collapse. The specific stimuli chosen for the behavioral cues were often chosen for their ability to affect the brain's electrical activity. This is where Subproject 106 overlapped conceptually with Subproject 115. But with a conditioning twist. Instead of using a strobe to force compliance, they used a simple sound or light to trigger trauma. Auditory cues. This included specific musical loops of infrasonic tones, low-frequency waves below 20 hertz that are felt as a vibration in the chest rather than heard. These were used to generate an immediate, intense physical anxiety that the subject could not logically explain, guaranteeing the panic felt entirely internal and unsolvable. And visual cues, the color bomb. Researchers found that highly saturated common colors were the most efficient triggers. Specifically, a brightly illuminated security yellow was linked to the onset of the chaos shock. The idea was that a simple traffic light, a safety sign, or a piece of furniture could instantly trigger a catatonic state or a total psychotic break in the conditioned subject. The research notes in CIA MKUL 106 RPT 07B describe the devastating efficiency of the visual trigger. Document quote, "The cue becomes the anchor of the subject's tear. We have successfully established a non-pharmacological means of terminal neutralization which can be deployed by a minimum of one operative simply by directing the subject's gaze." End quote. A critical, often overlooked section of the operational file deals with the complete failure of the reversal process. When Subproject 106 was successful in implanting the trigger, the researchers quickly found that they had created permanent psychological damage. The project intended for the conditioning to be reversible for their own agents in case of accidental triggering. However, the intensity of the chaos shock was so severe that the conditioned response became hardwired, leading to irreparable damage. The document CIA MKUL 106 REC 04 details several cases where subjects suffered from what the research team termed, quote, unscheduled response syndrome, end quote, meaning the subject began exhibiting the psychotic break spontaneously without the trigger cue being present. This finding, that the behavioral bomb could self-detonate, forced the CIA to strictly limit the use of Subproject 106 protocols to expendable foreign assets, or as a last resort terminal security measure. The subjects were deemed too psychologically volatile to be trustworthy agents. The ethical and legal implications of Subproject 106 are so severe that the redactions in the public file are layered, concealing 3 different classes of sensitive information. Redaction Layer 1, medical and academic collaboration, professional liabilities. The most disturbing redactions surround the institutional complicity. These blackouts hide the names of prominent American doctors, psychologists, and university departments who were contracted to design and execute the conditioning cycles. The continued secrecy protects these institutions and their staff from criminal and civil liability for what was state-sponsored torture. Redaction Layer 2, long-term follow-up data, evidence of permanent harm. Another heavy blackout covers the data concerning the long-term mental stability of subjects who were released after conditioning. If the agency can successfully shatter a mind with a color, they need to know if the damage is permanent. The CIA is hiding the explicit evidence of irreversible harm caused to U.S. and foreign citizens by these behavioral bombs. Redaction Layer 3. The equipment suppliers, manufacturing chain, a less obvious but equally dense redaction block, covers the list of commercial suppliers who manufacture the specialized isolation chambers, the high-intensity strobe system, and the precise infrasound generators. Exposing these companies would reveal the specialized industrial base needed to carry out such covert psychological operations. Was the CIA successful in MKUltra Subproject 106? The internal assessment found in the operational summary confirms that the project was highly successful, achieving a 78% reliable collapse rate when the specific cue was introduced following the isolation/chaos cycle. The success was not in total population control, but in the creation of a perfectly discrete psychological weapon for use on high-value, singular targets. Unlike a drug or a specialized machine, the trigger was something innocuous and portable, a red ribbon, a flashing light on a surveillance camera, or a specific clock chime. The capability of MKUltra Subproject 106 was immediately transitioned into a classified manual for terminal operational deterrence, a way to eliminate an asset without gunfire, drugs, or traceable means. The final weapon was not physical but purely psychological, turning the subject's environment into their executioner. This focus on absolute deniability is the chilling triumph of the project. We have exposed how the CIA turned the sensory world into a weapon of total psychological collapse. I'll see you in the archives. Remember to like this project and subscribe to the feed for more surprises. We've explored behavioral conditioning. Next time we go where the science ends and the impossible begins. We open the file on Project Telepathic Strike, codenamed Subproject 102. This project was a focused effort to induce remote psychological manipulation using exotic energy frequencies. a covert attempt to weaponize telepathy. We examined the files detailing experiments on using powerful, highly focused radio wave transmitters to implant specific emotional and verbal suggestions directly into a subject's mind from miles away. Was the CIA trying to build a thought bomb? In the meantime, keep an eye on the shadows, mind your step. I'll see you in the archives.